Hi there, I'm Danielle, your host here at 1 equals 1. Welcome back to episode 2 of our series on the Soviet Union. Firstly, let me briefly explain the isms. Marxism could be called the theory. It is the belief that history is a struggle between the bourgeoisie, the bosses who own the factories, and the proletariat, the workers. Marx's theory predicted that the workers would inevitably overthrow the bosses to create a fair society. Socialism could be called the transition. It propagates state ownership of all private property, including farms, shops, factories and banks, which is then managed by the state on behalf of the people. This is supposed to distribute wealth equally. Communism could be called the utopia, at the finish line. Marx and Lenin described communism as a future society where there is no government, no money, and no social classes. Everyone would work because they wanted to, and everyone would have everything they needed.
When we talk about the USSR, we aren't just talking about Russia.
At its height, the Soviet Union was the largest country on Earth, spanning 11 time zones. If you look at a map of the USSR, you'll see it swallowed up what are now 15 independent countries. This included East Germany, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, Yugoslavia, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltic states to the west, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan in the Caucasus, and Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and 3 other stans in Central Asia. It was a massive, multi-ethnic empire held together by a single set of rules coming out of the Kremlin in Moscow. To run this massive territory, Vladimir Lenin, the first leader, didn't build a democracy. He built a highly centralized government. In a democracy, power is spread out. In the USSR, power was like a pyramid. At the very top was the Communist Party. They decided everything: what the newspapers could print, what was taught in schools, and even how many bars of soap a factory in Uzbekistan had to produce. This wasn't just big government, it was total government. If you disagreed with the party, you weren't just a political rival, you were an enemy of the people. Lenin started the Red Terror. He created the first secret police, the Cheka, to arrest and execute anyone who opposed the revolution. He also set up the first gulags, brutal prison labor camps in the freezing wilderness of Siberia. Joseph Stalin, who took over after Lenin died, took this to a terrifying new level. Stalin wanted to collectivize all farming. When the peasants resisted, he caused man-made famines, most notably the Holodomor in Ukraine, where millions of people starved to death. Stalin also conducted the Great Purge. He was so paranoid about losing power that he had hundreds of thousands of his own loyal party members, generals, and ordinary citizens arrested, tortured, and shot. Under Stalin, the Soviet Union became a machine of fear, where even your neighbor might be an informant for the secret police. So here is the big takeaway for today. The socialism, practiced by Lenin and Stalin, wasn't a grassroots movement of happy workers. It turned out to be a totalitarian dictatorship. While the USSR called itself a communist state, it never actually reached the communism stage. It stayed stuck in a brutal version of socialism, where the government had total control, but the promised paradise never arrived. Marxism and the dream of communism were used as an excuse, but the reality was a system where the state was everything and the individual was nothing. In our next episode, we'll dive deeper into the daily life of a Soviet citizen. How do you survive in an economy where the government sets every price? And what happens when the worker's paradise runs out of bread? Make sure to watch episode 3.